The American Express teammates and guys, when you see what Siakam, Leonard, and Ibaka has done, basically we've just seen that domination. And when we look at these teammates, BD, I'm going to start with you. You said that before the trade deadline, you want to see Toronto get Gasol. Well, they're 4-1 since acquiring him. He averages 10 points, shoots 49% from the field, averages 6 rebounds in just 20 minutes. Does he make these guys better?
Absolutely. When you got somebody like Marc Gasol, you have the most skilled big man on your team, and probably one of the more skilled players on your team as far as having vision, being able to find guys with the pass. I think having somebody like that, playing him in the high post, in the low post, allows Siakam, allow Ibaka, and Kawhi to be able to roam a little bit and get more backdoor cuts.
And here's Siakam right now when we're talking about kind of him getting his game going, BD. And I know you like Gasol, but what is it about Siakam that you've been impressed with?
I think he's becoming a do-it-all player. As you saw the first one, driving with contact, having a shooter mentality now. Look at him finding himself in the corner, hands ready. And he worked on this all summer. I watched him work with Rico Hines, and it's more so know your big picture, right? Here's a guy who can run the floor, stretch the defense, handle the ball. He put in the work. I watched this kid put in the work this summer, being able to handle the ball and being able to shoot the three, and it's paying dividends now.
Yeah, and talking about putting in the work, and I kind of overstepped on that because I know, Candace, you like Gasol too. I mean, you're a big woman in the game, but you have guard skills, center skills. With Gasol, you see a little bit of that too, even though
fix your face, Shaq.
even though he's 7 foot taller, a few inches taller than you, but you see similarities in the game, being able to play big and little.
Well, to BD's point, he helps the starters, but also the struggle Toronto had before the break was that second unit. Second unit wasn't playing well. They were talking about moving Siakam to the second unit to get them to play well. Well, guess what? Now they have a guy that can anchor that second unit. If you don't double him, he's going to go over that right shoulder. One of the most skilled big men is going to pick you apart. On the top of the floor, you put him with the ball in his hands, and he's able to make the assist. Not many big men can put the ball on the floor, see the double come, and kick out to Powell for the three. I think that the biggest thing with Gasol is when things aren't going right, he's the type of player that you can just give the ball to and he can make things happen on the fly. And you look at Powell, you look at Jeremy Lin. Jeremy Lin has 6 points. Powell has 8 points. Patrick McCaw has 4. He's facilitating to these guys, drawing attention, and then kicking and giving them open looks.
Real quick, a big person you played with that had a game like that or that reminds you of all the things that you're talking about, you two?
Lauren Jackson, for me. Lauren Jackson with Seattle was the first big to come over and really be a big that played away from the basket but had guard-like skills.
I say Al Harrington.
Ooh, that's a good one. I like that.
Yeah. Even though Al Harrington, that's good, but he used to give me problems because he was
he was like a 3-4.
Yeah, in attack.
He was a problem.
Yeah. Shout out to Al Harrington. What's wrong, Shaq? That wasn't barbecue chicken for you down there?
Y'all just passed me up like I wasn't the first big dog to bring it coast to coast.
No, I said who they play with. Who they play with.
Oh, you play with.
Who they play with.
Yeah, we know you. We know you.
You kind of hate because your son got handles. Who better, your son handles or your handles?
His hand. What? No, mine.
You gonna dog your son too?
Me,
you can't even give him.
No, me.
Let him have that moment. Hey, Shaq. But we were in the back watching the game, and you made a few comments about what you liked from both teams and also what you didn't like. And when you look at Boston and we talk about that bad Boston specifically, what do you see?
We talked about chemistry, but let me talk about two things that breaks up chemistry. When you don't make that next pass, you see Marcus Smart right there in the corner, or you don't make the right play, that will definitely break your chemistry. Guys got him post. Make the right pass, throw it, and as a guy that's trying to get the ball, you got to act like you want the ball. Right here, swinging it lazy. The guy's down there in the post, he don't get it to him. Marcus Smart trying to do too much. And Kyrie, we know you can go against two people, but make the next pass. Because, when you can run down the court 4 or 5 times and you don't get it, you start to get in that mentality. And having that mentality in an important game like this, you'll mess around and be down by 20. So you got to make the right play, and you got to make the next pass.
Candace, this team is disappointing to me. I'll just say it. I thought that coming into the season, they'd be an Eastern Conference final, that they'd be up there. Anything can still happen, but I thought they'd be 1 or 2. I also thought that how hard they played last year would be their calling card. When I see them on the court now, they don't play that hard. They kind of play cool, as if they're veterans, as if they can turn it on at any moment. Do you see any of that from this Boston team?
Well, I think it shows even more so tonight because of Toronto's defense. I mean, if you think about their length on the perimeter with a Siakam, with a Danny Green, with those players, with Kyle Lowry taking charges to be able to hide Marc Gasol. But to your point, I don't think that they play like they like each other. And when you're playing with people that you don't necessarily want to play with and have great chemistry, then you're not going to play well.
Yeah, and just watching the clips that Shaq brought up, you know, anytime you just holding the ball, every pass has been thrown over your head. Right? So it's not with no velocity, no intent. And when they talk about playing hard, just playing hard and playing crisp, it's just about making the right pass and the crisp pass. And those turnovers are a result of that.
Yeah, turnovers. Ugly play right now by Boston, but we'll be back with more in a minute from American Halftime. American Express. American Express is after American. Help me out, Candace. You just can't be looking at me.
Welcome to the American Express Halftime Report. American Express, the official card of the NBA.
Well, I'm in a hurry. Thanks, guys, for talking too much. Don't forget to catch the starters, Keith, Taz, Lee, Trey, every weeknight as they break down the league's biggest storylines. That's right, weeknights at 6. Hey, it's presented by Jack. You like Jack and Coke, BD?
You know I do me a little Jack and Ginger.
Oh, you got to make it special.
In the winter.
Always. Welcome to Players Only in the Auto Trader pregame show. Now, Kyrie Irving and his 24-point average and his team are headed to face Kawhi Leonard and the second-place Toronto Raptors. Boston and Toronto next on TNT. Welcome to the show. That's right, it's Players Only, baby. C. Webb here with my girl Candace Parker, Baron Davis, and you know the big man, Shaquille O'Neal. Now, check it out. It's time now for Accelerate Your Game, presented by Autotrader.com. And when we look at these stats, this really talks about the dominance of Toronto, specifically in the last 7 games, 2.5 seasons, last 2 seasons minus 1 game. And when you look at these points and 12 points and the field goals percentage, Baron, I mean, do the numbers just speak for themselves? And you can just see that it's just been straight beatdowns by Toronto when you look at these numbers. Any of these numbers concern you?
No, you know, I think Toronto is a home team. They've been great in the playoffs, you know, utilizing their fans, having Kawhi. I think Kawhi just kind of gives them that anchor and that take care of home court mentality that he had at the Spurs. And so when you're looking at Toronto, you know, you're looking at a more talented team now than they had before the All-Star break. And, you know, it's playoff time, so they got to serve up.
You know, Shaq, when you look at the last 4 out of 6 for Boston, they lost. They are talented, as you talk about. I think you said, you know, you like the talent on this team. But recently they've had some comments come out the locker room, and it was talking about specifically Morris was saying, listen, it's not about us playing well together. It's the fact that we don't play hard. Does that concern you that a team doesn't play hard over chemistry? I mean, a couple weeks ago you were saying that you don't have to like each other to win, but what do you think about when the locker room says, hey, we're not even giving that effort?
It does concern me, but there's a lot of talk going on in the Boston team, but I don't know who's the leader of the team is. I don't know. I would assume it's Kyrie Irving. And what Kyrie has to do is he has to lift his other players. You play with guys that wanted to be great. You play with White Chocolate, he wanted to be great. So you allowed him to be great. You could have shot every time. Baron could have shot every time. You could have shot every time. But when you're the best player, you know, true definition of a great player is one that makes the other players great. And Kyrie should have sat and saw what the young guys were doing without him. And say, okay, I don't have to do everything. Let me use these young fellas. They want to play. They want to be great. I'm going to rest. I'm going to take over when I need to take over. I'm going to let them play. So I just think it's a conversation that needs to be had. They just need to hash it out, whatever. Everybody needs to say what's on their mind. But, you know, sometimes when you don't get the respect that you want, you kind of just, all right, you do it. You don't want me to do it, you do it. So it's not them really playing hard. It's just them not meshing as one. As soon as they mesh as one, they'll be one of the top teams in the entire NBA.
Well, let me follow that up. You see the problems that maybe the Lakers have in the locker room with young players saying, or they didn't say anything, but assuming that they got traded or was talking about getting traded and their feelings hurt. You know, Kyrie supposedly called back to LeBron. He doesn't know where he's going. He says, I'm sorry for being immature with you. Some took it as he's talking about his teammates. Do you see that being an issue of hurt feelings and lack of leadership in the locker room as well?
Well, it's something that needs to be addressed. You know, you should just go to him and say, you made some comments, who you talking about? I mean, what do you mean? And then, again, as players, it's no time to sit and sulk. If you don't want to be traded, you don't want to be talked about, step up. Like, you know, LeBron is used to playing with guys that hit shots and make him look good. He's not having that right now. So, you know, there's two ways to go about that. Say something, guys get sensitive and step up, or you say something and guys just, you know, stay sensitive all year. It's over, you get traded. Look, I was traded 6 times, I never cried about it. You move on, it's the business of basketball. But if you want to be a guy that doesn't get traded, you got to step up, period.
You know, Candace, I know you like this team, but as a big man, I'm looking at Horford's numbers the last few years. And this year, he's averaging 13 points, 7 rebounds. That's 16th amongst NBA starting centers. But you want to tell me, though, that all that doesn't matter. It's about the little things that he does on the court.
It is about the little things, and I think he's huge for their offense going forward. Within the playoffs last year, if you remember, after All-Star break was when he picked up. He's had some injuries, and I think all of us have, and you understand how important it is to really kind of coast at the beginning of the season and really pick it up now. Right now, you see Horford in a pick and roll with Rozier, but his ability to really pick and pop against the bigs in the East, Embiid doesn't want to go out there, and obviously you can't rotate off of Boston shooters. Again, you have kind of like a double pick similar. He rolls to the basket, is able, you know, Marcus Smart is able to find him. And then Gordon Hayward, because he is able to hit shots beyond the three-point line, they have to switch, which puts a mismatch of Embiid onto a Gordon Hayward, and you got Jimmy Butler switching over. Look, if they're going to go far in the playoffs, Horford has to be able to pick and stretch the defense against the Embiids, the Lopez's, the Marc Gasols, the bigger bigs of the East. And I think if he can do that into the playoffs, they're going to have success.
BD, if right now we look at this board and we see the 4 or 5 game is Philly-Boston, who would you have in that series, and are you concerned with the talk coming out of Boston's locker room?
Not so much. You know, I do like Philadelphia. I think they got, you know, a lot of firepower, but it seems like Boston has kind of had their number. And Boston match up well against Philly. So once Boston can kind of get it together and start playing for each other and realize that, you know, this is the last season that they're going to have together anyway, right, whatever way you look at it, I think they'll get their act together. And they're a bad matchup for Philadelphia.
So you're confident that even though all this is going on, 2 and 4 out of the last 6 games, that they can hit a switch and it'll be all right once the playoffs start coming. Rozier, all these guys, it's going to be just like it was last year.
Yeah, I mean, give them like, you know, 5-game winning streak, 3-game winning streak. They got to get back into a winner's mentality in order for them to start prepping for the playoffs.
And Shaq, you've won championships and you've had to do it both on the road and at home. How much does the home court advantage come into play for a team like Toronto with a new star, a new coach, and really playoff troubles since LeBron was in the East Coast?
I mean, you know, they play well at home and on the road. My only concern with Toronto has been my same concern for the past 5 years, Mr. Kyle Lowry. You know, they always do great in the regular season, always, you know, top 4, top spot. But sometimes Kyle Lowry, you know, it's no diss against Kyle. You know, I've always wanted him to step his game up and go to the next round, to the next level. If he can play consistent, finally, then, you know, this team can go pretty far. But, you know, I know they got this guy, you know, Gasol, and, you know, they got a pretty good bench. But they're going to need Kyle Lowry to do better than what he's done in the regular season for them to go to the next level.
Candace, are we giving Milwaukee Bucks and Toronto, meaning us, the fans, the media, everybody, are we giving these two teams enough love, or you think that we're going to be seeing them later on and they're going to force us to give them some love when the playoffs come?
Well, I don't know. I mean, Milwaukee was cursed by Ja Rule, so I think that certainly affects their chances.
Are we ready?
Come on, Ja Rule. That wasn't fire. But anyway, he was cursed by Ja Rule, so Toronto's had trouble with LeBron.
Here comes the tweet.
It's all about Ja Rule, baby.
Oh, man, we got more to come on the Auto Trader pregame show. We're going to listen to some Ja Rule from '99 during the break. We got the Celtics Raptors coming up next. What up, my baby?
Everybody was like, is everybody ready?
Well, you started it, Candace. I bet I throw another festival before Sacramento wins another championship.
Never
win a chip.